You're very welcome to Radio Espial. This is our latest September edition of Insider. And as you know, Insider, we deal with cases that we've covered previously and primarily updates on them. And then we'll move into our anniversary section and then on to our community section where you've raised points on recent timelines that we've covered. We're getting straight into it now. And we're going to start with the latest update on the Imelda Keenan case. Now, there has been an ongoing current Garda Síochána review into the disappearance of Imelda Keenan in Waterford City in January 1994. That's concluded, and unfortunately for the Keenan family, it's concluded without an upgrade, and that's really distressed the family and frustrated them. And they have said, and you're going to hear from Jerry Keenan, Imelda's brother, coming up very shortly, and they are heartbroken about the outcome of this. Essentially, the case not being upgraded to murder. Now, Imelda, originally from Mountmellick, County Laois, was 22 when she was last seen on Lombard Street. She had moved to Waterford and was living with her boyfriend at the time. Despite extensive searches and decades of campaigning by her family, no trace of her has ever been found. Late last week, the Keenan family met with senior Gardaí for an update on the progress of the case. Now, Jerry Keenan, Imelda's brother, described the family's devastation in the wake of it when speaking on Daisha Today on WLR. You're going to hear from that shortly, on Tuesday morning, September the 16th. We were told up in Ballybriggan Garda Station by a member of the investigation team, the Crime Bureau team on Garda Síochána, he's referring to the GSCR, that unfortunately without sufficient evidence this case can't go any further and Imelda will still be classified as missing. That's not good enough for the Keenan family. Speaking on the efforts of the review team into the disappearance of Imelda Keenan, Jerry said he's not exactly sure what they did. Seriously, we don't really know what they've done. We just don't know. They took all the information away. They promised us that they would look into Imelda's case from the beginning right up to today. They would go down every rabbit hole, leave no stone unturned, and they would come back to us as soon as possible with information. Following a fruitless, decades-long campaign, the news left Jerry emotionally overwhelmed. It's in my heart. It's in my mind. 24/7. I'll never let it go. I have a hole in my heart since we had the last meeting with Garda Síochána. I don't want to face people. I just want to shut everything away. The family are completely devastated with the bad news that we received last Thursday. And we're going to hear from Jerry. These are extracts, and thank you to WLR. You're going to hear snippets from Jerry Keenan speaking about this case and the decision not to upgrade it to murder.
I think she was murdered. I think there was foul play committed.
Gardaí say the silence surrounding Imelda's fate remains unbroken.
My ma and my two brothers went to their grave with broken hearts. Well, I remember when we got the news on the 3rd of January 1994. It was a very dark, cold January morning or night when Garda Síochána came and approached my mother in County Laois to tell her the very bad news that there was a young girl in Waterford called Imelda Keenan. Would she be your daughter? And my mother broke down and cried and said Imelda couldn't go missing, no way. They probably just had a little row, her and her boyfriend, and she would return soon, but that didn't happen. I have a heg in my heart since we have had the last meeting with Garda Síochána. I don't want to face people. I just want to shut everything away. The family are completely devastated with the bad news that we received last Thursday. We were told up in Ballybriggan Garda Station by a member of the investigation team, the Crime Bureau team, the review team, and Garda Síochána told us that unfortunately, without sufficient evidence, this case can't go any further. Imelda will still be classed as missing, and that's not good enough for the Keenan family. Seriously, we don't really know what to do. We just don't know. They took all the information away. They promised us that they would look into Imelda's case from the beginning right up to today. They would go down every rabbit hole. They would leave no stone unturned. and they will come back to us as soon as possible with information regarding Imelda. Yeah, my sisters, I have sisters living in Tullamore and Port Anson, Mount Mellick, all around the surrounding areas in County Laois. They came down here to Waterford. We had the meeting with An Garda Síochána, and we didn't like what we were told. We always thought that after 32 years of campaigning that we would eventually get this over the line, as everybody else did, or most cases in Ireland of young girls that went missing around the same time. Most of their families have got over the line for a murder case, and the Keenan family are still left behind. They just told us briefly that when we don't have sufficient evidence, this case will be still classed as missing. It's just so hurtful, Damien, to hear that coming out. We waited 32 years. We have done everything in our power. We have brought people on board to help us, the likes of John Hearn here in Waterford. John has been a great representative and a great tower of strength to us. My niece, as I said, in Port Arlington. We had other people and new friends and old friends coming on board to help us, to help the Keenans through this pain. It all seems to be in vain. 32 years of my life, I've been campaigning. I've never given up, ever. I think the system has completely and utterly let us down. We're devastated. I don't think we'll get over it. It's taken its toll on some of our family. I haven't a clue which road we're going to go down next. I'm at a crossroads now and I'm completely stopped. When we don't have An Garda Síochána, we're completely and completely utterly lost. But the Keenan family always refer back to 32 years ago. And the truth is that when Imelda went missing, and her apartment in William Street, An Garda Síochána that carried out the investigation then, her apartment was never forensicked. Ever forensicked. And this is the killing part of it. And the Keenan family think that if this apartment had been, or this inquiry had been conducted a little bit better, I don't think, Damien, we would be having this conversation 32 years after. And I think the Gardaí have slipped up. They're going to say that they didn't do this, they did do this. They didn't. There's no record of whatsoever of Imelda's apartment being fully forensicked. And this is the devastating part of it, of this case. I've hinted and said, okay, this was Waterford 32 years ago. This was the way it was 32 years ago. And we said, that's not good enough, like. That's not good enough. We don't want to hear that. The Gardaí, from day one, Imelda's case was missing. The Keenan family, from the first 3 days Imelda went missing, we knew it was more than a missing case, that this was a murder case. But the Gardaí have always treating this as a missing case. But they're the only ones that did, because everyone in Waterford that knew Imelda knew there was something wrong. They told us that the door is always open. We understand that part. And in saying that, they told us that Imelda's case will be still high profile. The case will never be closed. A lot of promises, Damien, but I think it's just information has just have fallen on deaf ears. Again, my niece, Gina Kerry, brought a table of information to the table. It might have been concrete evidence, but it was a lot of information. We don't know, was the information followed up? We just don't know. They're telling us it was. But the answer at the end of the day was, in my own heart, the Keenan family, most of the Keenan family, know that Imelda was murdered. It's just to find her body, bring her home, and that's all we're asking for.
Somebody killed her.
Someone killed her. And I think there's 2, if not 3 people here in Waterford are holding back that vital information.
Brian, as always, you're very welcome.
Thanks,
Brian,
Mick.
yeah, disappointing news on the Keenan case.
disappointing.
He's devastated.
Hello,
Their
folks.
family
Yeah.
are devastated, the Keenan family, now about this news. This is
Yeah.
not something like, I honestly thought we just might get the upgrade that the family wanted.
Yeah, it went on for a while because, I mean, I know it's heartbreaking stuff. It's very frustrating. I mean, I can't imagine what it's like for them. I mean, lovely people. I met Jerry and Gina Kerry, Melda, his niece. They were at the Missing Persons Day last year, and I met both of them. Very nice folks. Jerry's a gent there, like, and they've gone through hell for the last 30 plus years now, trying to drag this thing along, like, and it's I just can't understand it, like, and I don't know what their next move is now with this. But I can hope. I mean, because a couple of the siblings have passed since, or mothers passed as well.
Yeah.
So it's like, hopefully the remaining ones will get answers. But it's very hard to see families like this having to drag things along like that. And even one thing that as well that I remember Jerry said back along. He said the fact they didn't do any forensics on her flat. I mean, that alone is just.
That's baffling. That was always the most baffling part of the initial case.
Yeah. So it's not like somebody like Jerry is walking in and saying, "Come on, let's do something." He has his head screwed on straight. He knows all this. He's come out and said things like this. It's not absence of evidence. You got to look for the evidence there, like.
Yeah.
So he's pushed that for years. So it's soul destroying. Now I hope they get answers or can do something else to move this forward.
It's hard to know where we go forward now on this case, if that's because these reviews, they don't come along every 6 months.
No.
It's kind of like it could be another 2 or 3 years before, unless there's some sort of out of the blue breakthrough in the case. It could be another 2 or 3 years before this case lands back on a desk of someone and goes, let's review it again. Have we missed something? Yeah. We could be here in another 2 or 3 years talking about, the latest review and where we go. And that's what's...
true, Mick. You don't get this opportunity, but like I think that family, like all those families, they're very, very dignified, stoic people, And like I said, Jerry's a gent there, Gina, lovely lady. They were very, very stoic, dignified people. They've pushed this on here, like, and they kept their counsel and kept their powder dry during all this as well. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen next with it.
And again, we always stress when we do these insider cases, as with all of them, that we're not appearing to gloss over. Understand, we've covered these cases. If you're new and you're on Radio Spoil and you're hearing this for the first time and you're a bit, well, hang on a second, Imelda Keenan case, what's this all about? Folks, people, please understand, we've covered this case thoroughly with updates previously. We've done full timelines. We have some of the cases, we've even done full documentary features on them. Please, as always, description, links there. If you want to know more about the cases that we're mentioning, they're in there. Follow them up, or if you see a card appearing on screen, click it. We don't mind if you want to go off and then go down the full timeline or feature on the case. That's fine. We totally understand that. But for the purposes of Insider, it's a magazine style program. We cover cases where there's updates. We're not here to go literally rehash and totally rediscuss a case. Brian, we'll move on to our second case. This is an update on the Christian Brückner case. Now, I want to stress Christian Brückner is a suspect in quite a number of cases on the continent. The name might strike note with you. So the prime suspect in the high profile case of Madeleine McCann's disappearance has declined to be interviewed by the Metropolitan Police in the UK. The force has said or reported this week. The Metropolitan Police said an international letter of request was sent to Christian Brückner ahead of his imminent release for a separate offence, which he later rejected. Now, German national Christian Brückner, age 48, I believe he's 49 now, has never been charged with any crime in relation to the McCann case and denies any involvement in that one. Bruckner was serving a 7-year prison sentence in Germany for the rape of a 72-year-old woman at her home in Praia de Luz in 2005. German authorities confirmed his release on Wednesday morning. You'll see some of that reel coming up, September the 17th. Prosecutors have applied for conditions on Bruckner's release, such as making him wear an electronic ankle tag and recording him to inform them where he lives. Currently, I just want to add, we do not know the terms and circumstances of his release when he left prison on Wednesday this week. So we cannot confirm that any of that has happened. We do know he has to report to a parole officer, but that's, by the by, that kind of happens anyway. Now, I know people are going to say, oh, but hang on, he's a serious offender. I want to stress, Christian Brückner, like it or not, uncooperative in prison, has served the full term of the sentence he was given. Okay, this isn't like he's out on parole or he's being released earlier than expected. He is not being cooperative, and he has had to serve the full term of the sentence. Whether you agree it was long enough or not is by the by. He has served the full term of a sentence and consequently has been released. However, to go on, prosecutors in Braunschweig, where Bruckner was tried on the 2022 charges and acquitted, have applied for a retrial in a different court, but a decision on those proceedings is not expected before next year, so 2026. Hans Christian Wolters.
When they say in a different court, is it the same type of court, or is it a...
I believe it's a higher court.
Okay.
Once you refer on, you must move to a higher court.
Must go upwards. Okay. Right.
I'm not quite sure how it works in Germany, but it must be a higher court. Now, the German prosecutor Wolters said that he believed the 48-year-old German national was dangerous, but that the current legal situation meant he must be released from prison without delay. Now, Detective Chief Inspector Mark Cranwell in the UK said Bruckner remains a suspect in the Met Police's own investigation into Madeleine McCann's disappearance. He has been the prime suspect in the German and Portuguese investigations since 2020 and 2022 respectively. Now, Detective Chief Inspector Cranwell said, "We have requested an interview with the German suspect, but for legal reasons this can only be done via an international letter of request which has been submitted. It was subsequently refused by the suspect. In the absence of an interview, we will nevertheless continue to pursue any viable lines of inquiry. We can provide no further information while the investigation is ongoing." Now, Madeleine's disappearance has become one of the world's highest profile unsolved missing person cases in the world. German prosecutors have pointed to evidence, including mobile phone data, indicating Bruckner may have been in the area when she vanished, and has consistently insisted that they think he is responsible. However, they have not found strong enough evidence to bring charges. Bruckner, who spent many years in the Algarve, was a drifter, a petty criminal and a convicted sex offender. He has several previous convictions, including for sexually abusing children in 1994 and 2016. Portuguese and German police conducted a fresh search between where the McCanns had been staying and addresses linked to Bruckner in June this year. A number of searches over the years, but this yielded no breakthroughs. In 2023, investigators carried out searches near the Bergmann de RAONAID. It's a reservoir about 30 miles from Br&uuml. Now, Bruckner spent time in Br&uuml area between 2000 and 2017 and had photographs and videos of himself near the reservoir. In October last year, Bruckner was cleared of unrelated sexual offences by a German court, alleged to have taken place in Portugal between 2000 and 2017. Due to differences in the legal systems, German authorities suspect Bruckner of murder in relation to Madeleine McCann, while British police continue to treat her disappearance as a missing persons case. Now, the funding given to the Metropolitan Police investigation, known as Operation Grange, has totaled more than 13.2 million since 2011, and that's million in sterling English pounds. A further 108,000 was secured from the UK government in April. Brian,
Yeah.
I am always fascinated by police who, in an investigation, write letters of request.
I'd say I really put the wind up in me.
Oh, it scared him shitless. I'd say I was going, oh my God, what do I do now? Yeah, a strongly worded letter of request. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be as strongly worded as you want. Like,
What were they expecting?
Yeah,
Christian was gonna
sure,
go to his lawyer,
Yeah.
book me the next plane, to London. I'll be there.
Yeah.
Give me a hotel. I like toast in the morning, then I like ham and cheese at lunchtime, and I'd like to pop into the Dortish or maybe for an evening meal. If you could organise all that, I'll be over there straight away to talk to you with bells on. Yeah,
it's shocking. I don't know, what is this a stepping stone to something else, which you'd hope, or what? Like, because it's like, I don't know. Sorry, it's just like it beggars belief, really. Like, what do they expect? So we'll see what happens now. But it's just.
Am I right in saying, Brian?
Madness.
Is it just about the British Metropolitan Police playing up to the attention and trying to get a bit of one-upmanship on the German authorities, who, in fairness, have at least done some, have at least tried to progress?
But the point is,
is it one-upmanship?
Actually,
is this just for show? Is this just a showboat thing?
Yeah, I think it is.
And
just,
nothing more
just
than
ticking
that.
the box, like, but it's just
shocking naivety.
Yeah,
a letter
you haven't
of
scored
request.
a point here. You've gone. You've actually scored
an own goal.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. I mean, this whole thing. I'm not going to go off on, because if you start it, you're not going to stop. But like, this thing has been a media circus from the very start. From the start of this case, that poor little girl. The way this thing blew up into a media circus in Portugal. The way the parents were treated there and back in Britain, the whole thing just went in every direction except.
And the other cases that we shouldn't forget, that he's actually been the 72-year-old American woman,
and there was,
and then Helen Bean, and you're gonna hear some of that in the reel.
He was dressed all in black from head to toe. He had a mask on which only had like cutouts for his eyes, and he was holding a knife.
Hazel believes she was one of his victims as a young holiday rep attacked in the Algarve in 2004.
Knowing that he's out doesn't feel like justice to me. Knowing that he's out and free to walk around and live his life feels like I'm the one in prison now again. And he's free and I'm not. I don't think that's fair.
Helen Bean and the two other women that, and ultimately those cases were thrown out, that seemed to be the last gasp of the German authorities to try and hold them and keep them in prison.
Yeah, which is so the whole thing, that you had the multiple media circuses already between Portugal and Britain. This thing then, and that other trial he was in, that was a total media circus as well. And then he ends up getting, I think there's a pretty short sentence. He served the full amount, fair enough, fair point, Mick. But yeah, it was pretty short anyway. And now you had this kind of countdown to him being released. I know he's out, and it's like, he holds all the cards, he holds all the power. There's they can request things or whatever. And the reality is, if one guy here,
he served the sentence.
Just one second. This guy Walters, or one of them said that this guy is dangerous, and you're going, okay, well, if he's dangerous, do something about it. Collaborate with the Brits and get him, get it dealt with. Like, even if it is to go right, eliminate him from inquiries. Like, it's just do this kind of stuff. Is writing letters and doing this kind of stuff? That's not going to work. Like, Sorry, go on.
Yeah, again, folks, we've covered the crimes and the suspicions in involvement in other cases, including the Madeleine McCann case, with a profile on Christian Brückner, and there's a number of one or two other updates on him. Again, cards, description. We're not here to re-explore, and we're not here in comments to start going into, you know, discussions about the Madeleine McCann case. We have been very clear, and we maintain the line that our focus is on Christian Brückner, because we certainly here at Radio Espial believe he's connected with a number of different crimes. Some he has been prosecuted for, 2 previous sexual offences. The 72-year-old woman, he was ultimately served his 7-year prison sentence, and we believe there are 2 other kids in Germany that he may be connected with, where he was in the locale at the time and they disappeared. We have deliberately never went down, Brian, you'll agree, we were very firm in that, and we constantly look at it and we review it, and we've been very clear, we are not doing a timeline on the Madeleine McCann case. There has been so much written about it, so many YouTube's videos put out there about it, so much crap out there and that's both by officially and by amateur people, and you know, just put stuff out on opinion makers and pundits on TV. You know, it's a space we don't want to go into. It's too noisy. It will be no point now. It's like walking into it'll be like walking into a rock festival with 100,000 people and whispering a hymn at the back and thinking you're going to be heard because you have some truth to tell or some insight. Forget it. We would be wasting our time.
Yeah, and that's not through any lack of concern or anything like that.
No,
it's just
it's not.
You have to pick your battles, and that's
it's just not our bag now. There's nothing. We always, when we look at cases, and we're going to be shortly moving now into our community spot, so we'll speak more freely now. When we look at a case, we always look at, if we cover that case, can we add value to it? Can we add something new or different, a different perspective? Can we be thoughtful about the case? Can we be respectful about the case? Is there something we can do that hasn't been done? And that's the way we approach the case. And agree or disagree with us, that's fair enough. The Madeleine McCann case doesn't fall into that area for us. There's too much noise in it. It would be a waste of time for us to cover it at this point now. Different maybe 20 years ago, but now it would be a complete waste of time for us to cover that case, because you got it. It's just noise. So some of our anniversaries this month, September, in this Radio Espial edition, we remember the cases of RAONAID Murray, age 17, brutally murdered in Dunleary on the 4th of September 1999. Her mother has never been solved again. Please people, cases, links in the description. Also, Mary Duffy, a 23-year-old cook while walking home, who was abducted, raped and strangled by serial killers John Thaw and Jeffrey Evans in late September 1976, just as they had done to Elizabeth Plunkett a month earlier. And that crime was solved and there were convictions. Declan Flynn, who you will have heard on our most recent case, Charles Self, a 31-year-old ground crew worker for RAONAID, murdered because he was gay in Fairview Park, Dublin, in early September 1982. Again, that crime was solved, convictions, despite the fact that we had questions about the sentences and the role of that. Again, if you want to hear more about that case, Declan Quinn, look for it, the case timeline in the description, and you can deep dive into that as we did. JOYCE, 69, a retired pensioner, stabbed to death in 1983 for no reason in a frenzied attack outside a garage while he walked home from his local pub in Westport, Ireland. Again, that was solved and followed with a conviction. And finally, Lisa Doyle, a case again, more recent, that we've covered in a timeline. Strangled and murdered by her own boyfriend as she lay asleep in her Carlow home on September 20th, 2009. So literally tomorrow as we record. That was solved with a conviction that followed. All of these cases have been extensively covered by Radio Espial. Please see the description under the video links for the full cases. And now we're going to move on to our second last, penultimate, I think they call it, section, community feedback. We're hoping to grow this more and more when we do these insider episodes. I'm going to hand over to Brian, who's going to take you through the community feedback section. Brian.
Okay, thanks, Mick. So first up there, we have a comment from Empty Subculture. Now, this is another chap called Mick, and a great supporter of the channel. Always gives good encouragement and good comments there up on the channel. So he just says, hi, Mick Rooney, Br&uuml, very in-depth lads as always. Very intriguing case with the evidence in the news, taxi man, passengers, etc. I was aware of the case evidence presented here, apart from the guy leaving at 3 a.m. filling his car. No, so I'm not going to read the whole out, but he just raises about this is Alpha O'Reilly, the other case that's upcoming. He was Charles Self's boss and he employed him, but he wasn't aware of this case, but he just raised about that there. He thought he might be a suspicious character there, but he hasn't looked into the case yet. But we'll have that later. So he just he said he looks forward to the presentation on this, and rest in peace, Charles Self. So again, we'll present that in the Alpha O'Reilly case there. Mick, you just said thanks to Mick there as well. There was another comment from Tango Delta saying that how these cases are unrelated, and that's what we believe as well. We and the authorities believe. We don't believe Alpha O'Reilly was connected with Charles Self's murder at all, or that his disappearance in 1996 was in any way related to Charles Self's murder there. So we'll deal with that in the Alpha O'Reilly timeline there.
Yeah, and I think it's important to stress, because, and in fairness, we're human.
Yeah. And
maybe some people thought we were drawing illusions, but I thought at least once or twice during the Charles Self timeline, at least twice we stressed these cases are 14 years apart and they have no connection. Yes, there are curious and interesting coincidences and circumstances and connections, but there are in no way, we didn't believe, connected. And I'm not sure whether people picked up. I don't know whether, you know, in fairness, I get it. Sometimes people go to a part in a video and they just click forward and maybe they missed that alert that we said.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sorry, Brian, go on.
Yeah, but I'm sure Mick will go off and do his homework there anyway. He said he wasn't aware of the other case.
Yeah,
so he'll look into that anyway. So look, thanks for commenting there, Mick, Mick D and Tango Delta as well there. Okay. Now, the next one then, we have a comment from Jane Grace. She mentions she's nearly half an hour in, and Bill Maher, nephew Father Niall Malloy, that truly piqued her interest in Charles Self's death. Didn't think I could do 2 hours, but hey, I mean, thanks guys. So look, she stuck with it anyway, and thanks for saying that there, Jane Grace as well. And there's a timeline on there's a video on Niall Malloy, Father Niall Malloy as well.
Well, there was.
There
was, and people, bear with me. I know a number of people have asked me about that, and have said, "Oh, Mick, I thought, didn't I once see a timeline you had on Niall Malloy or a feature?" We did, but the powers that be in YouTube decided to give us a strike, and we had to take that down. I do intend to try and put it up as a link on through our community members only page that links back to our community on Facebook, and I might put it up there, but let me look into that. But we did originally have the Niall Malloy case up, so that's apropos.
Yeah, because it's important that his stories, that's out there and told properly as well, because there was an awful lot of nonsense about that case as well, and speculation about him as well, which is wrong. Okay, so thanks Jane Grace. So next we have Newton says, I find it hard to believe Charles suffered all those stab wounds and remained silent throughout the attack, and you hear nothing. Yet you hear a conversation between two people, question mark, in the early hours. So yeah, definitely Newton. Yeah, we agree. Yeah, it's and Mick has answered everything. The account by Bertie simply is incredible. It is like, it just doesn't add up. And he put a further comment then to say about why was Bertrand not murdered as well. After all, he saw the potential murderer and could possibly identify him. Someone who killed Charles, such a friendly manner, would not think twice of killing him as well. And I think that's
a really good point. That's something
that's
that
the
we missed.
Point there. Yeah,
that's something we didn't think about.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Well, actually, despite the fact that you can say, okay, Bertie couldn't, 66 years of age, was he the person trying to climb over a wall?
Yeah.
But yeah, was Bertie maybe disguising something more that went on, which is why there are anomalies in his account? Did he actually know who actually did this, and that's more what was going on?
Yeah, because I mean, just one more comment there from Tango Delta again. I agree. Bertie's account does not seem credible at face value. He was 66 years old at the time of Charles's murder. I think it's possibly genuine. He slept through it, possibly, or alternatively heard the commotion, was too afraid to intervene, and then told the cops otherwise because he was embarrassed. Bear in mind, he slept through the phone calls from Charles's friend at about midnight or soon thereafter. Not necessarily, he might have just not answered them, but he was much older than Charles. I'm not sure I find it credible that Bertie got into some kind of row with Charles and beat him to death. Yeah, I think so, because and then it says, unfortunately, it's unlikely the case will be solved. If Bertie did it, he's long dead. If Malcolm MacArthur did it while still alive, there's not much of any evidence against him. I think some people, we didn't put it in there, but some people thought about Malcolm MacArthur because when Bertie Trier said he saw the silhouette with the curly hair, that's what some people twigged. Malcolm MacArthur a couple of months later had the whole goo-boo thing. Like, no, if a male prostitute did it, they're likely dead also. Statistically, they had a high rate of premature death from AIDS and drugs. I think that's a bit of a sweeping statement there, but and this is not judgmental or homophobic comment, it's just a reality. I think that's a bit sweeping there, but I think so Tango Delta makes a good point there about being much older, and not sure if it's credible he got in a row with Charles beating to death.
The physicalities of carrying out that crime.
I think putting all this together, I think the points there, putting all those points together from Newton and Tango Delta, I think if what could have happened, there's so many possibilities, but I mean, if Bertie Trier, it seems unlikely that he slept through the thing, or unless he'd taken some seizing tablets or had a good skinful and he slept through it. But like, I don't think that didn't seem to be the case. But if he was up at 9 a.m. in the morning and so on, so I think, if he quite possibly could have known the murder, or could have been threatened into saying, you say this happened to you. Like, I mean, it was a gruesome scene. If Bertie Trier did do it, he'd have had a whole clean up to do, because he would have been covered in blood himself. He'd have had to shower, he'd have had to dispose of his clothes and all the rest of it. So that doesn't seem very, very possible either. So again,
the question being, are there anomalies in Bertie's account because he essentially knew more of what actually happened than he was necessarily saying? That's as far as we can go.
That's as far as we can go. That's the point. And I think it's just back to, your responses there, Mick. I think we've alluded to the conclusions that Bertie's account is simply not credible, and I think that's the upshot of that there. Okay, so thanks Newton and thanks Tango Delta for your comments there on that, and to say it did that up. So that's it. Okay, now we've another one there from Sir Simmer. Now, could Bertie Trier be covering for the killer because he knew him? Maybe he had someone in the house that Charles said didn't want there. The killer could have left the scene and left him to stage. The rest of it looked like a robbery. I don't know how anyone could sleep through an event like that. What's happening downstairs? And then with Malcolm MacArthur query again. Mickey responded, I think it's possible. MacArthur was in the country at the time, but I don't believe he's any connection to this case. So there wasn't, I mean, I think considering what happened a few months later, if the guards thought, they might have looked at that, but there was no connection found there. And then Moira Anik says, it's an obvious first conclusion. However, we don't know if if he had hearing issues, took sleeping tablets or similar, passed out drunk, sleep apnea, etc., all of which could have meant he wasn't aware, as another person might be. But it's less usual for an older person to be such a deep sleeper, but there are people when they're asleep, the house could fall down and wouldn't notice. I know when I was in my teens, 20s, my ability to sleep through anything was legendary. Burglar alarms, break-ins, raids outside the bedroom window, brass band parades, not a bother to me. So, yeah, again, we fair point, but we don't know. We just don't know. And I think again, it's the same point there. The account just didn't add up, and it seems unlikely he'd sleep through this. But that's it. Can't take it any further. He died 30 years ago as well, so we're not going to get to the bottom of that one. But thanks, folks, Sir Simmer and Moira Annick for commenting on that there as well. Now we've one last one on the Charles Self case. P. John said, did Mary Little see a man climb over the wall? Did the description match either the taxi man or Bertie Troyer's description? And Mick's responded, no, she provided no detailed description, and that's it. So there was no description.
She witnessed this in the dark, so she didn't morning, really. Yeah. And and again, I'm kind of thinking of that account that she gave. It wasn't the most detailed account. She didn't go into details of description because, as I say, it was dark. She was looking out our window. So essentially, she was seeing the shadow of a man. I don't think, to my understanding, I don't think she. The grasp I got of her witness statement was she saw someone on the bench at the wall, possibly attempting to climb over it into, and I think she even referred to it as another garden, and I think we even covered this in the case. There actually isn't another garden over there, so I'm thinking, what is Mary really given? How reliable? And did she actually see the person go over the wall? And I'm not convinced in her statement she actually witnessed someone go over the wall.
Yeah. So again, so look, thanks P. John for raising that. I don't think it's we're going to get any further with that. Okay, now we one other comment on a video from some time back there, the Peter Bergmann case. Now this was a fascinating case, a very sad case. I think it's one that really, it was a very, very tragic case. This just you can look into it there. The links will be below, folks. This man who turned up in Sligo, came in from Derry, either Austrian or German, and the details he gave were all false. So he was never identified, even though there's photos of him and mortuary pictures and so on. He died on the beach there. He was terminally ill anyway, and just seemed to be tidying up loose ends and offloading stuff, and then he died a couple of days later. So you can look into the video there, folks. But,
I think it's one of the most quietly powerful cases we've ever covered.
It is, yeah. It is.
But that's the best way to describe it. And it's and as Brian rightly described it, it is one of the, and I don't mean this in the wrong way, it is one of the most odd and yet fascinating cases we've ever covered of not a missing person, but an unsolved case.
Yeah, and this very sad, very, very poignant as well. Like, this guy at the end of his life like that, and so we had a comment there from Miss Moffat here. She said, I recently heard about this. I found it so sad and yet fascinating, and I think that's a good sum up there. It's so strange. Today, I researched a bit more about it. On Facebook, someone has recently commented that there was a German man who went missing from Berlin in 1995 after going to visit his bank. His Lada car was later found in the car park near the bank. His name was Manfred Fietzek. He was 48 when he went missing in 1995, so that would make him around 62 in 2009, and that fits with the age range. There is a photo of him on the missing persons website, so that's, if you want to look into that, folks, you can dig into it. There's a couple of threads on Reddit as well about it and so on, and there is photos of
we'll maybe have a look at that as well, because it's not a name that I've I've come across before. So yeah, thank you, Miss Muffet.
Yeah.
We'll have a
And
look
quick
at it,
look.
and we'll see if is there something in that. Does something chime in? You know,
It's very, very hard to tell. I mean, I had a quick look. I thought some of the older photos didn't really look that alike, but what I would go as far as to say one of the photos was not unlike the mortuary photo. That's as far as I go.
Yeah.
Certainly, there was no, that's as far as I go. But anyway, we'll have to dig deeper into that. I just had a quick look today at it. So look, thanks, Ms. Muffet for posting that. So that's the end of the community engagement for this Insider there.
Yeah, and thanks for all your comments, and we really appreciate them.
Folks.
Again, folks, when we do these timelines, feel free to comment. We love reading the comments. Please understand, we always say, we get an awful lot of comments on cases. We can't always respond to every single comment, but I can assure you, we always read the comments. And just like tonight and in recent episodes of Insider, where we think a comment shows a real insight, or where we stop in our tracks and go, yeah, do you know what? We didn't think of that. We actually, that's interesting. Yeah. We're always prepared to, as we always do here, show and tell. We're not afraid of that, and to show that we're trying to, as best we can, interact with you. We would hope maybe in the future, we're not immediately ready for it as regards setup. We hope that at some future stage we are perhaps maybe not for all of the edition of Insider, but at a certain stage we might take Insider to a live broadcast where when we get into the community stage we actually notify you when we're going live, and me and Brian will be there, and we actually start a live field questions on cases, and we can interact back and forward in a live environment. That's something we're planning, but we're not quite ready and set up for it at the moment.
So folks, sorry, just to say that's good, like, because if you think we've missed a trick put in there, we'll take it on the chin. Like with some of them there, like, and there was in the last one as well, there was one or two things on some of the other timelines as well that where that was good that people raised those things there as well. So thanks, folks.
So Brian, you're coming up next week with the next timeline, the Alpha O'Reilly case. We did cover this, I think, in our last edition, but you just want to give a quick brief on Alpha O'Reilly, so people are aware.
Alpha O'Reilly, he disappeared in early January 1996. Now, he was very successful production designer, set designer, costume designer, and senior figure in his field at RTE for over 25 years. And he was involved in other, the Institute for Design as well. So he didn't just stick in one area. He was big into the promoting good design and educational aspects as well. He was also a talented actor and artist. He was heavily involved with the Gate Theatre in Dublin and also the Gate in the Olympia. He did the set design for the initial run of Philadelphia Here I Come by Brian Freeland in 1964 before it went on to Broadway as well, and he worked on the Late Late Show in the mid-60s as well. So he was a very talented guy, and we'll get into all that in the timeline. Originally from Ballinasloe, born there in 1922, and spent some of his childhood in Westport, County Mayo as well. Worked in England in the 60s. He worked in the hit show The Avengers. He was the production designer for 5 of the episodes of the first season of that. Settled back in Dublin, became head of design at RTE, and continued there to his retirement in 1987. Now, let's get this off the bat here, folks. Like we said earlier, he recruited Charles Self, who we mentioned there, and got him to work on. He worked under him in RTE for 4 years until his brutal murder in 1982. We don't believe Alpha O'Reilly was involved in that, connected to that in any way, number one. Number two, we don't believe that had any bearing on Alpha O'Reilly's disappearance 14 years later in 1996 either. Now, so any coincidences you think you might see that they both went missing in January? They were Alpha O'Reilly was gay as well. That they were both gay. They both did similar work, etc., etc. Anything like that is coincidental. We don't believe, and neither do the authorities, that those cases were connected at all. No, he lived alone in Sandymount. His sister predeceased him the year before, and he was last seen at 3 a.m. in the morning one of the evenings very early in January there. One of the 3 o'clock in the morning, he stopped for petrol in Ashford, County Wicklow. Didn't seem well at the time and was a bit confused, and was last seen heading in the direction of Wexford. And his car, agreement to Bishi Colt, relatively new car there for the previous year, 95D 6446, is also missing and hasn't been located to date. So this case, I actually remember, it's nearly 30 years ago now. I actually remember watching the Crime Line episode when David Harvey mentioned about this case and discussed it with the Gardaí, and there's been some appeals over the years there and some newspaper articles. No trace of him of his car have been found, and the car hasn't left the country. His passport was left at home. The bank account hasn't been touched since. So the case of the disappearance of Alpha O'Reilly remains open and unsolved. So we'll dig into that in the next timeline there, folks.
Okay, that's thank you, Brian, for that. Looking forward to that timeline on Alpha O'Reilly. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Radio Espial Insider. As you've heard, we have Brian's timeline on Alpha O'Reilly coming up next week. Join us then. God bless. Take care, everyone. Thank you,
Thanks, Julie,
Brian,
folks.
again
All the
for
best.
joining us.
Bye now.
Okay, we'll see you soon.